The summer sun reflected off the calm waters of Lake Willow, casting golden patterns across the surface as Malik Carter stepped out of his pickup and onto the wooden dock leading to his cabin. It had taken him years to save for this modest getaway, a place where he could breathe freely, away from the constant noise of city life and the pressures of work. The cabin was more than just a structure, it was a sanctuary, a testament to perseverance, and a symbol of dignity for a man who had built his life with patience, integrity, and a quiet strength that demanded respect. For Malik, this lake cabin was meant to be a space of peace, a place to host friends, to fish in solitude, and to reflect on the journey that had brought him here. His family had encouraged him to invest in something permanent, something that would stand as a legacy of his hard work. And for a while, that dream seemed untouchable. The water lapped gently against the shore, birds called across the treetops, and a sense of calm washed over him. But as Malik rounded the corner of the property toward the cabin, he noticed something that made his stomach tighten. Bright yellow construction tape, sharp metal fencing, and a brand new lock adorned the perimeter. The familiar path to his own front door was blocked. His brow furrowed, heart accelerating, as he read the small, official-looking sign nailed to the fence: property allocated to HOA member, unauthorized entry prohibited. For a moment, Malik thought he had misunderstood. Maybe it was a mistake, a clerical error. But as he studied the fence and the official-looking warning, the reality set in. Karen Wilkins, the head of the Homeowners Association, had given his property to her son. The place he had purchased with his own money, the cabin he had painstakingly maintained, fenced off and repurposed for someone else. Anger surged through him, but he held it in check. Malik had learned long ago that anger without strategy was wasted energy. He took a deep breath, touching the railing of the dock as if to ground himself. He remembered every conversation with his mother, every lesson about patience, persistence, and dignity. This was not just about a property dispute, it was about principle, fairness, and the assertion of a black man's right to justice in a system that often underestimated him. He decided to approach the HOA office directly, hoping for clarity. Perhaps there had been a misunderstanding, a mistake, something procedural he could resolve. But he was well aware that hope alone rarely opened doors in situations like this. Walking through the manicured lawns of the HOA headquarters, he could already sense the tension in the air, the way his presence seemed to draw attention not because of who he was, but because of assumptions made about him. Karen Wilkins herself was seated behind the reception desk, her posture sharp, the kind of self-assurance that comes with long-held authority. She looked up as Malik entered, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone polite but edged with impatience. "Yes," Malik said evenly, "I'm here about my property at Lake Willow. I was told it's now allocated to someone else, and I need an explanation." Karen blinked slowly, her lips curving into a tight smile. "Oh, yes," she said lightly. "We recently reviewed several properties and decided some adjustments were necessary. Your cabin has been reallocated to my son. I'm sure you understand HOA decisions are final." Malik's jaw tightened, but he maintained his calm. "I understand HOA regulations," he replied, "but I also understand property ownership. I purchased that cabin legally, and it has been maintained by me. You cannot simply give it to someone else without due process or notification." Karen's smile didn't waver. "The decision has been made," she repeated, almost as if repeating it would make it absolute, undeniable. Malik could see the dismissal in her eyes, the casual disregard for fairness. This was a moment he had anticipated, this was the exact reason he had come prepared. "I respect your position," he said slowly, letting each word land, "but respect is a two-way street. You cannot deny me what I rightfully own, and I will not allow this to stand unchallenged." Her eyes flickered briefly with irritation, but she masked it quickly. She clearly believed that her authority and her connections placed her above challenge. She did not anticipate that Malik, quiet and measured, had a mind sharp enough to strategize beyond her immediate grasp. Over the next several weeks, Malik researched the HOA rules, property deeds, and municipal regulations. Every evening after work, he combed through legal documents and historical property records, documenting every misstep and irregularity. The more he learned, the more confident he became. Karen Wilkins had acted without legal standing, she had overstepped her authority, and every piece of evidence pointed to one conclusion: the cabin belonged to him. But Malik did not rush to confront her again. He wanted the resolution to be precise, undeniable in a way that emphasized dignity over mere vengeance. He sought to deliver a lesson in accountability, not only to Karen but to every individual who believed they could manipulate systems without consequence. It was then he conceived an idea both audacious and symbolic. If Karen Wilkins thought she could use fences and authority to intimidate him, he would respond with a solution both practical and pointed. Malik began planning a fence not around his cabin, but around the HOA headquarters itself. A symbolic reversal that made a statement louder than any words could. Weeks later, the project was complete. A tall, sturdy fence, complete with locked gates, now encircled the HOA office. The gates bore signs with precise, legal citations, indicating that the land and structures were under the protection and control of Malik Carter, rightful owner, pending formal dispute resolution. It was a clever, dramatic statement, entirely within legal boundaries, that mirrored the action Karen had taken at Lake Willow. The first day she arrived at the office after the fence was erected, Karen Wilkins was met with a sight she could not have anticipated. Her mouth fell open as she tried to comprehend how a man she considered powerless had taken such initiative. Malik stood nearby, calm, composed, and dignified. "I thought you might like some perspective," he said quietly. Her words caught in her throat. All the authority she had wielded over homeowners, all the casual decisions she had made without regard for fairness, now felt challenged in a way she could not ignore. She realized, perhaps too late, that Malik's actions were not impulsive, they were deliberate, grounded in knowledge, law, and principle. The story spread quickly among the HOA members and surrounding community. People were fascinated, inspired, and in some cases, ashamed. The audacity of one man standing up for what was right, armed not with anger but with strategic action, resonated deeply. Malik's fence became more than a boundary, it was a monument to justice, a reminder that dignity and fairness cannot be silenced by position or privilege. Karen Wilkins had no choice but to confront the reality she had created. A formal review ensued, documents were examined, and ultimately, the decision regarding the lake cabin was reversed. Malik's ownership was legally recognized and reinforced, and Karen's son was directed to find alternative accommodations. But more than that, the community witnessed a powerful lesson: a black man's rights are not subject to whim or favoritism, and courage coupled with wisdom can overturn even the most entrenched systems of abuse. In the weeks following the victory, Malik allowed the fence to remain in place temporarily, a visual reminder of what had been challenged and corrected. But he also understood the power of reconciliation and the importance of moving forward. He eventually removed it, leaving behind a story of resilience and justice for the entire neighborhood. The incident had cemented his reputation, not as a man who sought conflict, but as someone whose dignity demanded respect and whose actions exemplified courage. Sitting back on the dock at Lake Willow, watching the water ripple beneath the setting sun, Malik reflected on the journey. The lake cabin was no longer just a place of escape, it was a symbol of perseverance and integrity. He had faced prejudice, bureaucracy, and arrogance head-on, and he had emerged victorious without compromising his principles. He knew that in telling this story, in recounting it to friends, family, and the wider community, he was not only preserving a personal triumph but also contributing to a larger narrative, that black lives, black ownership, and black dignity are worth protecting, worth asserting, and worth defending with courage and precision. As night fell, the water glimmered like liquid gold under the moonlight, and Malik felt a deep sense of peace. The cabin, the lake, the land, all were his. But more importantly, the respect he had claimed through intellect, patience, and strategic action was something no one could take from him. And in that quiet, victorious moment, Malik knew that justice, when pursued with dignity and resolve, always finds its way home.